The fact is, efforts by banks to help homeowners at risk of losing their homes have only focused on temporary modification fixes, such as interest reduction and then the extension of loan terms, which you've already heard about, that ultimately really put off the day of reckoning. Banks' executives have criticized loan modification proposals that call for the systemic reduction of loan principal in markets plagued by severe negative equity. They say it will create a moral hazard, and they claim this moral hazard will encourage more people to stop paying their mortgages, which our member here has already referred to, Assemblyman Bradford, I believe. In truth, the moral hazard only occurs when a party insulated from risk behaves differently than it would behave if it were fully exposed to the risk. The fact is, homeowners are specifically targeted, have been specifically targeted in working class communities of color with loan scams of the worst kind, and have been saddled with unconscionable levels of risk. And not only have they been scammed, but they've been scammed then subsequently by counselors who are paid by government funds and promised to be helped with that modification, and in fact were not. This crushing burden was created by a real estate financing system designed by banks, brokers, and financial institutions that insulated them from risk while they made billions and took advantage of unsophisticated homeowners. Everybody's supposed to abide by their contract, but if the person who qualified the person for the loan has no risk and yet qualifies that person, shares no obligation to handle or take up the consequence of loan foreclosures. Certainly those banks and servicers that have gone down in flames and have been absorbed by larger institutions have paid a price. But the billions of dollars of loans that are still under foreclosure on bank rolls still has to be addressed. Who's taking up that moral side of those contracts? The moral and ethical smart thing to do is to require financial institutions to modify mortgage loans through fair and reasonable principal reduction programs like 1LAs that will keep families in their homes and still protect bank investments. Our communities call upon you to work with us to arrange meetings with decision-making executives at Bank America, JP Morgan Chase, Wells Fargo, Citigroup, and One West, where we can negotiate the terms upon which the banks will participate in a serious principal reduction program. Our people will not rest until we can get a workable plan that addresses the interest of responsible homeowners that is enacted by both government and the banks.
Thank you.
The next segment is going to be a lawyer from the Neighborhood Legal Services, and she describes California as the epicenter of the nation's foreclosure crisis, and she talks about the strategy of this program.
We have about 15 more minutes.
I appreciate that.
And we have other people on the panel.
I appreciate that. Good morning, distinguished chairs and members of the committees. I am Yvonne Maria Jimenez. I'm the Deputy Director of Neighborhood Legal Services of Los Angeles County. We're a private nonprofit regional law firm that's been in the forefront in efforts to stem the foreclosure crisis in California, in particular in Los Angeles. Neighborhood Legal Services is a member of 1LA. I introduced Stephanie Hafner, our supervising attorney, who's the co-author of the strategy I'm going to describe to you, and is here to answer any technical questions you have on the formula. As the data shows that we've been provided since 2006, over 3 million homes have been foreclosed upon in the United States, with over 25% of those in California. We are the epicenter of the foreclosure crisis, yet there is still no workable plan in place to resolve it. Over the last 2 years, Neighborhood Legal Services has served hundreds and hundreds of homeowners in danger of losing their homes. We find that banks, more often than not, are inclined to do nothing. It takes tenacious advocacy by our lawyers and HUD-certified counselors for banks to qualify homeowners for modifications for which they clearly qualify. Even so, loan modifications under the bank's programs and under HAMP leave California homeowners with severe negative equity. Consequently, the crisis lingers on damaging our economy, our communities, and our people. In her testimony before the U.S. House Financial Services Committee in December, Lori Goodman, the Senior Managing Director of Amherst Securities Group of New York, stated that the evidence is irrefutable. Negative equity is the most important predictor of default. She further stated that without decisive action, there is a risk of triggering a double dip in the U.S. housing market. Just last week, the Los Angeles Times reported that the risk has become a reality here. What is most tragic is that there is a workable solution that can solve the negative equity problem, provide investors and banks and homeowners a much better option than foreclosure. It will stabilize the housing market and promote our economic recovery. 2 years ago, One LA researched the financial status of distressed homeowners and banks' response. We found that many homeowners can afford to stay in their homes if their mortgage balances are reduced to realistic levels tied to the value of their home. One LA shared its data with the City of Los Angeles and policymakers. Together, we designed a loan modification program that reduces principal, provides the investor a much better return than foreclosures, and uses public funds as a loan for homeowners that will eventually be paid back. One LA vetted the strategy with bank analysts from the largest bank in the United States, and they agreed that the numbers show that it favors their investors, it favors homeowners and community as a whole. The strategy works alone or in concert with the HEMP program. Here are two of the most important features of it. Number one, public funds are invested as soft second loans to homeowners that are used to provide an immediate payment to the investor after the lender has agreed to write down the principal to current market value. And two, the public loans are sized to compensate the investor for the value of the principal reduction in today's dollars and to achieve a positive net present value calculation on the loan modifications. A typical loan will range from $12,000 to $40,000 per homeowner. The advantages of the plan are, one, it'll keep families in their homes and stabilize their neighborhoods. Two, it will invest public funds in local communities that will increase in value as our housing market recovers. And three, it will provide a higher return for investors than foreclosure or HEMP alone, and will reduce the chance of redefault through reasonable loan amounts and terms consistent with the property's value. As stated, the banks have vetted the strategy and have told us that it will work. One bank has stated that it will participate in a $1 million demonstration project, but no bank is actually using principal reduction as a systematic loan modification program. All of us must work together to get the banks to do what's in the best interest, not only of our homeowners in California, but of their own investors. Banks can expeditiously implement these programs that will help California homeowners secure affordable mortgage payments. We call upon the legislature to fund political courage to hold the banks accountable. And we're here this morning to request that you work with us and set meetings to work with high-ranking executives at these banks to negotiate terms upon which they will participate in the One LA Principal Reduction Program. Thank you.